What is up, guys? It's your boy Yusuf. We back again with another video. This is my New York roommate horror story. So when I first landed in New York, I had no place to stay. At first I was staying with my friend's dad's house, right? And instantly I went out Craigslist, was looking for a place to stay. The first borough I ever stayed in was Queens. I stayed in an area called Woodside, Queens. Now, the thing about finding rent in New York and finding a place to stay in New York, especially when you just land, you'll accept anything when you go anywhere. And it started out like that. So the place basically was remodeled basement with 7 rooms, 1 bathroom. Yeah, I know, disgusting. But it was a Puerto Rican roommate, a Brazilian roommate, white roommate, Italian roommate, Punjabi roommate, Moroccan roommate, and then you have my Somali ass in there, and it was 7 of us basically. Now I'll give you all these details because it's very important to the story. So I landed in December 2019, after which I had stayed at my friend's dad's place for a week. I moved into this new place a week after. I had stayed there for about a month when the first incident happened. Incident number 1. When you're living with 7 dudes, you have 7 different types of people. Most of us stayed in our rooms. There was no common area. It was just the kitchen, the bathroom, and then the hallway that led to all of our rooms. So most of the time, everyone was spending in their rooms. We'd only use the kitchen to cook and then go back into our rooms. Not much of a social area. The first incident, I had ordered pizza. It was the dead of winter. I think I ordered it a day ago or something like that. I tried to put the pizza box, which is an 18-inch pizza. I tried to put the pizza box in the fridge. It did not go into the fridge. So keep in mind, it was winter, the basement was hella cold. I didn't think that the pizza was gonna go bad, so I just left it out there on the table. My Brazilian friend, neat freak, likes the house clean. So I'm chilling at home one day. It's about 4, 5, 6 p.m. on a weekend. He starts asking roommates who left the pizza box there. Now, I'm watching Netflix in my room, and then I hear somebody talking about the pizza box that I left. And I just kind of put my ear on. I was listening. I'm like, oh shit, it's about me. So I paused the movie and I'm paying attention to what's happening out there. So he was asking the other roommates whose pizza box was it, who left it out, because our boy is a neat freak and he likes the place clean. Again, no worries with that. You gotta respect other people when you're living with them. He asked our Punjabi roommate that very same question. The Punjabi roommate gets very aggressive, gets very violent. He starts going, hey, why you talking to me like that? Like, I didn't do nothing. Why you coming at me? This, that. The minute I hear this, I step out. I'm like, hey, my bad, man. It was my pizza. Like, hey, like, I'm sorry. And I try and break it up and, cool it down or whatever the case is. So, my boy, he looks at me, he goes, dude, come on. I'm like, hey, man, my bad. So I end up throwing out the pizza box. End of incident 1. So right off incident 1, you don't think there's anything wrong with the story. You don't think there's anything wrong with this dude. Keep in mind, he'd asked a couple other roommates. The other roommates were cool. This guy got really aggressive real quickly and got really tight all of a sudden off of a question. So looking at incident 1, you're thinking, not much going on here, just roommates arguing, which is a very common thing, which is true. But there was no need for that guy to escalate the argument to that degree. Incident number 2. Punjabi roommate contracted corona right in the midst of the pandemic, when it was like March and April. He was in the hospital. We tried to contact him, we tried to call him, we tried to WhatsApp message him, all of which didn't really get a reply for that. So we were worried about the dude. Now, sometime in mid-April, he comes back to us. We were very worried about him. We asked about his health and made sure he was okay. It's Ramadan at this point. It's 2 a.m. I'm awake all night and I'm asleep all day. Around 1 or 2 a.m. I get out of my room, I go inside and take a shower. The dishes have been piling up in the sink. Now, my Brazilian roommate, neat freak. Puerto Rican dude, also neat freak. Bathroom, take my shower. Brazilian, Puerto Rican dude are out there in the kitchen complaining about dishes. I'm just living my best life in the shower, minding my own business, doing my thing. Now, Punjabi roommate steps out of his room. He starts to try and make food or whatever the case is. They start telling him, hey, like, if some of these dishes are yours, you gotta wash the dishes, this, that. Now, there was a bit of a miscommunication right there. The Puerto Rican dude was talking to the Punjabi dude and he was telling him, hey, dude, if you got some dishes, you gotta wash some dishes. And the Punjabi dude understood it as, y'all trying to make me wash dishes that aren't even mine. He's like, no, I'm not gonna wash the dishes. To which the Puerto Rican dude said, yeah, you will. And then they start arguing. Now, I'm in the shower, mind you, and I'm hearing voices get louder and louder and things. I could sense the intensity outside. So I'm like, okay, let me step out and see what's happening. So, I didn't even drive my body. I just put a towel on. And as I'm stepping out the shower, I see plates. I hear the sound of plates breaking and the pieces of the plates sliding under the bathroom door. So I'm literally about to come into my slippers, into my slides, and I'm seeing glass everywhere. So I'm like, I open the door, hair wet, everything wet. I'm seeing like this guy like just throw dishes on the ground, and the Puerto Rican dude staring at him, and they're kind of squaring off around each other. And the Brazilian dude standing behind the Puerto Rican dude is like, yo, what's happening? So I step in, I'm like, hey, take it easy, calm down, relax yourselves. And so I'm grabbing Punjabi dude, Brazilian dude grabbing the Puerto Rican dude. We trying to, de-escalate the situation to the best of our ability. Incident number 3. About a week later, I'm chilling in my room. It's about midnight at this point. My Brazilian friend has his girlfriend with him in his room. I'm chilling in my room. All the other roommates are chilling in their room. It's a relatively quiet night. All of a sudden, I hear a scream out of nowhere, and it sounds like a woman's scream. And it's a basement with 7 dudes only. So I pop my head out the door. And at the same time, my Brazilian roommate pops his head out the door, and we look at each other. I'm like, did you hear that? He goes, yes. And he's like, did you hear that? I'm like, yes. I'm like, that wasn't you? He's like, nah, bro. Like, he got his girl with him in his room, but ain't nothing happening just yet. So I'm like, okay. So me and him start to investigate. So we start going door to door to each roommate, knocking on the door, making sure everything's okay, you know? And so we knock on several roommates' doors. One of them didn't reply. The other roommates were either saying yes, they heard a scream, or no, they didn't hear a scream. We get to the Punjabi dude's door. We knock on his door, and he comes out, fully aggressive on us. Just be like, what y'all knocking on my door for? We're like, hey, we're just knocking, making sure everything's okay. We heard a scream. Did you hear a scream? It's like, what? Why y'all knocking on my door? Why y'all bothering me? Why you guys are always harassing me and ganging up on me? And we're like, yo, calm down. We're just asking if you heard a scream. Did you hear anything? And he's going on and on about why y'all knocking on my door. To which I say, you know what? My bad. Good night. Forget about it. You know? And then the reason why I did that was because I could see that things were getting tense between him and the Brazilian guy. Because if you remember incident 1, those guys did not get along. And so it was kind of getting tight. So I was like, okay, forget about it. So I just, you know, like, I dead the issue right there. And I tell the Brazilian guy, like, screw it, let's just go back to our rooms. So Punjabi dude just slams the door. Me and Brazilian dude go back to our room. Now, my spider senses are tingling. I'm like, yo, this nigga, like, ever since incident 2, I'm like, this dude is not stable. Different theories about Corona. I'm thinking this dude would turn into a White Walker, or there's something wrong with him. There's something not right with this dude. But there was something not right with him all along. So he slams the door. And then all I hear as I'm walking back to my room is him destroying his room. I'm hearing shit being thrown around and shit being broken in his room. Now, Brazilian dude goes into his room. I go into my room. And I lock the door because I'm like, I know crazy. I know crazy when I sense that shit. So I locked my door. I'm like, nah, I'm not finna deal with any of that shit. Brazilian dudes went into his room. The Punjabi dude leaves his room, comes, and then he's screaming in the hallway talking about, if y'all gonna bang on my door, I'ma bang on your door. And so he starts banging on the Brazilian dude's door and starts banging on my door like this dude the Hulk or some shit like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? He going in on that shit. So we text the landlord, tell him, hey, this dude wildin'. Did it stop there? Nah, dude goes into the kitchen, starts smashing everything in the kitchen. He rips the doors of the microwave off its hinges on some Hulk shit. Like, he just, how do you remove a microwave door off its hinges? He ripped it clean off. He smashed everything. He took a broom and stabbed it through a cupboard. And then he took a knife. He took a knife and stabbed it through a door. The door of our white roommate who had moved out a couple months before. And he literally stabbed it through the door on the shining thing. Like, here's Johnny. He just stabbed through the door. Now, when he stabbed through the door, the knife slipped from his grip and he cut himself. And so, like, he dropped the knife and then there was blood everywhere and stuff like that as he stumbled back into his room. Like, you could see handprints of his blood across the hallway as he made his way back into his room. Now, I hear a little bit of quiet. And my African senses are tingling, so I'm thinking to myself, yo, I'm not finna die in no goddamn basement. I am not finna die in no goddamn basement. So what do? I peek through the door, right? Make sure the coast is clear. I'm seeing blood on the floor, and I'm seeing a knife on the floor, and I'm seeing like wreckage everywhere, like out in the hallway. So I'm like, yo. Now, I'm not staying here at all. He's a runner, he's a track star. So I bust it, I run, I go up the stairs, out into the outdoors. I'm like, you know what, East African shit, Somali running, this nigga never gonna catch me. This dude is huge, he's like 300 pounds. This dude is a big ass Punjabi dude. I'm not finna do none of this shit with him. So I step outside. He hears this and he comes up running right after me. At this point, the landlord's been notified. The landlord's texted both me and my roommate and said, hey, I've called the police, they're on the way. This dude steps out. I stepped outside. And he follows me and he starts talking about why you bothering me? Why you this? Why you that? And stuff. You know what? I'm gonna make trouble for you. You try to make trouble for me, I'm gonna make trouble for you. And I shit you not. He grabs his phone, dials 9911. And proceeds to have a full-blown conversation with the automated response saying that that's an incorrect number. And I thought to myself in that moment, this nigga crazy. This nigga will kill us in a fit of rage, without a doubt. So he starts pointing at me and says, yes, hello? Yeah, I'd like to make a complaint. There's this one black guy, what do you call it, causing this, and he's a problem, and he's trouble. You know, he wants to make trouble for me, I'm gonna make trouble for him, having a full-on conversation. And then he walks away, and we were living opposite of school. So he goes to the school, grabs a traffic cone, and starts dragging it along with one hand while talking on the phone. On some Mike Myers, Jason type horror film. And he's doing that, and I'm recording the whole thing on my phone. I'm like, world star. Because in the moment, I'm thinking to myself, ain't nobody gonna believe me. Ain't nobody gonna believe this story. I have to record this. This is not happening. This isn't real life.
I don't give a shit, man.
I'm black, but you ain't gotta be offensive.
I'm telling you, I don't give a fuck.
Calm down, calm down.
Just
Police is coming. Police.
As this is happening, and he's walking down the street now towards me, I'm standing there. I'm looking at my surroundings to get a good idea of what is around me, just in case, you know. And out of the corner of my eye, I see movement from like upstairs in the house, and I look up and I see it's the landlord, and he's on the phone just looking down at me. He sees this dude approaching me with a traffic cone, and he just standing there just looking down at me. And I look up at him, and I'm like this, and he pretends not to see me, because I know he saw me. I'm standing in the middle of the street. I know he saw me. He saw me, but he didn't do anything. And the worst thing is, this dude was Turkish, and he was Muslim, and every time he would see me, he'd be like, salam alaikum, Yusuf, like, wa alaikum salam, like, I don't want your brotherhood no more. That's some fake ass brotherhood. You were gonna let me die. So he's dragging that cone coming right at me. The first thing to arrive is the ambulance. The ambulance is coming down that road, and it's a one-way road. This dude is walking slowly towards the ambulance with a phone and like with a traffic cone, just walking directly at them, staring right into their souls. Ambulance saw that, he's like, beep beep, fuck that. I'm not finna deal with any of this. He started backing out. He made the ambulance back out. This dude played chicken with an ambulance, and the ambulance backed up. And then you had the fire department come through as well, and they saw that situation. The fire department calls me over. It's like, yo, what's the situation? So I tell him, hey man, this dude just went crazy on us for no reason. He started wrecking shit. He started like throwing shit, and he's I don't think he's in his right state of mind. He had a knife earlier. I think he injured himself. I'm not sure, because you know, no, he didn't stab nobody. It's just his own blood. So they asked me if he was armed. I'm like, nah, he's not armed. So the police finally come. About 5 or 6 squad cars come up, and I'm standing next to the fire department. So one of the cops pulls up on me, and he's like, hey, what happened? So I told him the same thing I told the fire department, and I'm like, yo, I think he's injured. I don't think he's in his right state of mind, because at the end of the day, no matter what happens, this guy's a brown guy, and I don't want anything bad to happen to him. About 15 officers pull up on this dude, and they surround him in a semicircle. Starts talking about, oh, this guy's a problem, this guy's a problem, this is that. They see that he's injured. They're like, okay, come with us, sir. We're gonna help you. We're gonna take care of your injury, whatever the case is. And so one of the cops grabs him by his hand. He's not having it. He's not. Y'all not gonna take me nowhere. So he starts to struggle, and then all the cops kind of jump him and stuff like that, and then like they grab him and stuff, and they drag him to the gurney, and they strap him to the gurney and handcuff him, and then they start treating him like as that's happening, and then they take him away. The funny thing is, in the middle of all that, I had placed an order with Uber Eats, and my Uber Eats order arrived at that time, and the dude was like looking at this whole situation. So after that, like I saw him like, hey, and I walked over. It was sushi, by the way. As this whole situation happens, landlord finally decides to come down and comes to me and says, hey Yusuf, are you okay? Is everything all right? You asking me now if I'm okay? I was in the heat. I was in the moment. I was about to die. You were just sitting there up there watching me. You wouldn't give 2 shits? He's like, are you okay? Move with this shit. Of course, I went back indoors. I saw all the damage. Like a couple of roommates came out and stuff like that. They had heard what was happening, but they locked their doors because they don't want no smoke either.
For 6 months. 6 months.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here next month.
One hour later.
I am gone.
They would have to close the house because
I'm gone.
Really sure?
I'm gone with the quickness, cause this is fucking ridiculous. What the fuck? Just nigga, just hold up. This is
I was planning
ridiculous.
to leave.
This nigga went full cycle on this shit. Bro, what the
No, definitely. So guys, I think tomorrow we're gonna finish. Let us leave. Huh? Ketchup. Okay.
This is, yeah, just think of it as ketchup. But that's not the end of the story. that whole incident happens. By the time again, this started like towards the end of midnight to everything winded down to me eating my sushi about 3:30. So this was like a 3-hour saga of what all that was happening. I go to sleep after that. I wake up next day around 3-4 p.m. Keep in mind Ramadan timing, y'all. I'm asleep all day and awake all night. And I turn on my light in my room, you know what I'm saying? Like I just like literally just got up, and my roommates, I could hear talking outside my door, and then somebody knocks on my door and they're like, Yusuf, you awake? I'm like, yeah, what's up? Turns out it's the Brazilian Puerto Rican dude's like, can we come in? So, you know, I bring him into my room, like, what's up guys? And he's like, they look at me and they're like, he's back. Y'all, I just woke up, y'all need to be specific, who's back? And he's back. I'm like, what do you mean he's back? I'm like, he's back. I'm like, so you're telling me this dude destroyed private property, like harmed himself and was trying to potentially harm his roommates, and you're telling me the police let him go? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, the landlord let him come back? I'm like, yeah. So I get on the phone with the landlord and I'm like, so what's up, dude? And I have it on speaker with my 2 other roommates, the Puerto Rican Brazilian guy right there. So I'm having a conversation with him like, hey, what's good? And he's like, yeah. So I had a talk with him. We had a conversation, and he said he won't do that stuff again. I'm like, listen, that's just, this man needs help. Not to demonize mental health or anything like that, but he is, quite frankly, a danger to himself and to others. So you need to sort this shit out, because this is not okay. Because somebody's gonna get hurt, whether it's him or myself or one of the other roommates. This is not cool. So I started telling him like this, doesn't this break any like renters agreement? Keep in mind, this is a pandemic, eviction notices, people are not to be evicted. I didn't want this dude to be evicted, but at the same time, like, does he have no family? Is there no one that can take care of him? Can he potentially stay at a mental health facility? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a very uncomfortable, difficult position to be in. And the landlord was like, yeah, no, he paid 6 months rent in advance, so I can't really kick him out. I'm like, wow. So once I'm done with that conversation, I'm like, of course, like, what do I expect out of the landlord that basically was watching me get murdered, watching HBO Max, thinking like, yeah, this is a nice film. So once the phone call ends, my roommate's like, so what you gonna do? I told him, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not staying here no more. And within 2 days, I was gone. So crashed at a friend's place, and then after that, I found my own place to stay in with another roommate, great dude that I stay with. And I've been there since then. I'm currently now filming this video. I told the story to a couple people, and you know what they told me? Welcome to New York. But no story is without its happy ending, and my Brazilian roommate ended up marrying his girlfriend after that incident. After a couple months after that incident. So there's that happy ending for the story. We never found out where that scream came from. Right guys, if you liked the video, be sure to like, share, subscribe. If you know anyone that lives in New York or are a New Yorker yourself, be sure to use the hashtag New York Roommate Horror Story and share your own horror stories with roommates that you had. Some people who are violent, people who are strange, people who had weird earwax collections, or whatever the case may be. Until next time guys, I will see you guys next week.